In the name of God, hello all. Uh, Unfortunately, I couldn't get the US visa for attending to the conference, but I am pleasured for attending to the conference virtually. The title of my presentation is The Jurisprudence Trace Behind DAESH Trench, Theoretical Base of Islamic Fundamentalism, focusing on Kurdistan province of Iran. Introduction. There have been various approaches trying to explain religious fundamentalism. Some thinkers explain religious fundamentalism from a historical perspective, relying on the historical trends paving the way for its emergence and spread. Some others believe that regional and cross-regional events are important factors in the development of this phenomenon, such as Kulai 2005. Still, some others base their explanation on the theological conflicts and differences in interpretation among Ash'ariyat and Mu'tazila, such as Hamid Abu Zaid 2001. Despite awareness of multiple factors that are effective on political and economic connections among movement leaders, this article emphasizes on study and analysis the role of traditional Islamic jurisprudence or fiqh in religious extremism among Islamic fundamentalists. Religious fundamentalism is returned to disciplines that they are index of basis of religion. Always acts of fundamentalists are reactive and return to past as well as selective. They devote their energy for dominations of religion that they are best booster their identity and provide their unity of their movement. Fundamentalists fight under name of God in monotheistic religions or under name the symbols of transcendental reference. Religious fundamentalism isn't limited to Islam. At first, fundamentalism was applied for applying to various movements of Protestants in United States. Important property of these movements were returned to pure understanding from first references and Christian texts to edit them from suspicious which enter to this religious tradition via modernity. From the late 19th century, fundamentalism prospered as the main pull about interpretation and understanding of reality among traditional religious groups. This religious fundamentalism there have been among important religions of world: Islam, Judaism, and Christian. In whole, Sharia involves Quran, holy book of Muslims, Sunnah, statements and actions of Muhammad Prophet and his companions, and Ijma or consensus, which can be reached by the Ummah, all the world Muslims, a Muslim nation, transgressing borders worldwide. There is more important distinction between Sharia and Islamic jurisprudence, which based on Sharia is the path of living Islam, and Islamic jurisprudence or fiqh is the process employed to apply it. Because all Muslims do not agree of everything, there are different traditions of Islamic jurisprudence, each with its own methods of research and interpretation. Joseph Schacht, in his book An Introduction to Islamic Law, 1982, described Islamic jurisprudence as the sacred law of Islam, as the epitome of Islamic thought, as the most typical manifestation of the Islamic way of life, the core and kernel of Islam itself. TB in his book, The Sharia as a State, Arab Spring and Democratizations, 2013, says that the efforts of Islamic fundamentalists are much more than just a religious movement. In one phrase, Islamic fundamentalism is the political ideology of a fiqh state. Islamic fundamentalism perspective believes that the only way for achieving bliss in Islamic fiqh-based society, for Sayyid Qutb, as one of the main Islamic fundamentalist leaders, in the final analysis, each of Islamic countries are fundamentally the same because they ignore God's authority over man and his actions. By ignoring God's revelation, man rebels against the sovereignty of God on earth. Quote 1990. Although Sharia involves Quran, Sunnah, and Ijma, but jurisprudence rulings is not very clear. On the other word, there isn't all Islamic jurisprudence clearly in Quran or Sunnah, but the most of them achieved with jurisprudential deduction by special clergyman named jurisprudence or mufti or mujtahid. Therefore, Islamic jurisprudence is result of deduction of jurisprudence, and we can say fiqh is a kind of human production which is based on historical, political, and cultural context. So, this jurisprudence can or must be changeable in different conditions, societies, and ages. Research settings and method. Participants in my interviews were in Sakis. Sakis is a western city in Iran. The people of this city are Sunni Muslims. Research method is grounded theory. Also, I selected samples based on theoretical sampling. Theoretical saturation was obtained after interviewing with 14 persons. Findings. Findings show Islamic fundamentalists believe that Quran, Sunnah, and Islamic law or jurisprudence are not historical, and we must apply them in any ages and societies. Also, they believe that jurisprudence is useful and enough for making good society. Participants stipulate that historical, social, political, and cultural context of Islam were not effective in making the forms of Sharia. Other important findings shows that Islamic fundamentalists don't confirm any critique about the authenticity of Hadith and Islamic jurisprudence. Furthermore, they have some terrible beliefs about women. They apply extra limitation against women, especially in social activities of them, and some freedom laws. Also, according to Islamic jurisprudence, men are allowed to imprison women or torture them if they return from Islam. In this condition, they are apostate or murtad. More important beliefs among participants, which there are also significant evidence in jurisprudence or traditional jurisprudence, is belief is more important than human life. Belief is more important than human life. According to Islamic jurisprudence, Muslims allow and should fight against non-Muslim peoples in order to spread Islam. This is a jihad. According to the jurisprudential rulings, Muslims should do jihad against non-Muslim peoples and forcing them to accept Islam. This means belief of human is more important than human life. Conclusion. Shortly, I can say, unfortunately, we can see and find some Islamic jurisprudential rulings which they are justify extremism and violence and these religious roles can provide some fundamentalist and extremist movements among some Muslims. But we can eliminate these fake and inhuman jurisprudential rulings with rethinking and reflexivity of them. Of course, some Islamic intellectuals such as Abdul Karim Surush, Nasr Hamid Abu Zaid, Mujtahid Shabastari, and Ahmad al-Naim doing some reforms and changes in Islamic jurisprudence in order to make a better and kingly Muslim world, I hope. Thank you for your attention.